So for this video, I wanted to talk about the world of animation and a little bit about AI art, while also talking about a couple of my favorite current animation series, movies, shows, briefly touching on them, a little bit of a spoiler warning for the following shows / movies, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Arcane, and Attack on Titan. While also touching a little bit on AI art, the impacts of that for artists and in the industry. While not going into too much detail, we can do that in a later video if you guys want to. And I might do an individual review on these different series. I don't know, we'll see. But first I wanted to touch briefly on AI art and how that works, just so we can get a general idea so that, later in the video when we talk about it, we're kind of all on the same page, right? So how AI art works is basically by training the AI itself, and this involves creating a data set, feeding it into an algorithm, and using keywords and phrases so that the AI can then recreate that, which I'll touch on a little bit later on in this video. But I wanted to start off by first talking about the positives and gush about some of my favorite current animations. And by the way, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hayes, and let's get right into this video. And I want to start off by gushing about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So Across the Spider-Verse is a 2023 sequel to the highly acclaimed first movie, Into the Spider-Verse. This movie was directed by Joaquin dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson. The story follows teenage Miles Morales as he tries navigating his normal life with his Spider-Man life. He ends up going on this multi-dimensional journey where he meets other spider people known as the Spider Society, led by Miguel O'Hara. Now, the first movie was absolutely amazing, spectacular. The characters, the writing, the story, the animation, the theming and aesthetics were all really good, right? Then Sony Animations managed to blow that whole first movie out of the water with the sequel that pretty much improved everything from the first movie, but especially the animation. The attention to detail, the different effects for each world, making each universe feel unique and fitting for the character that inhabits each world. You have Spider-Gwen's world that's stylized with watercolor backgrounds that slowly drip and shift colors according to the mood of the scene and the characters, like a mood ring. The transition shots, the extravagant and detailed backgrounds, the action shots, effects, the blend of different art styles and characters just blending so seamlessly well together, it feels so cohesive. One of my favorite examples of this is actually towards the beginning of the movie. There's this bird villain that essentially came from a different universe, where pretty much everything is themed around the Italian Renaissance. And not only was his character just visually striking, but also one of my favorite parts was when he took damage, you see it rebuilding itself based on references to master studies of the Renaissance era, building it up from sketch layer with size measurements to detailed renders. The backgrounds, the color schemes, the lighting, shot composition makes for some of the most gorgeous animation I've seen in years. Then absolutely blowing audiences' minds with that final climactic battle between all the different spider people trying to catch Miles. Animating so many different moving parts and people that it's just such an incredible eye candy to watch. And the unfortunate thing is that, and this is the case for a lot of different animations, especially when the quality of the animation is really good, is that the animators themselves will often be overworked and underpaid. But for some people, instead of the idea of just simply paying animators what they're worth and not overworking them, some people's idea is to use AI art to then replace the animators, because the next thing I want to talk about is Arcane. Based off the game League of Legends, created by Christian Link and Alex Yee, Arcane is a 2021 3D animated steampunk action-adventure show about unrest between the rich and the poor, represented by Piltover, and its underbelly named Zaun. And we follow two sisters, Jinx and Vi, as they get swept up into the chaos as divisions grow and magic and technologies begin to be introduced. This series managed to do more emotional damage in 9 episodes than some of your favorite TV shows. With its detailed and complex world building, dynamic character arcs, and compelling relationships, and the use of magic systems being masterfully done, no wonder audiences are begging for a second season. The animation itself is absolutely stunning, with stunning visual landscapes, backgrounds, painting-like textures on both the characters and the environments. And with the character of Jinx especially, we get a lot of visual glitches, distortion, most of which includes a lot of glowing neon lettering, symbols, and apparitions that will allow you to get into the broken mind of Arcane's most tragic character. Just seriously, the amount of detail that was put into this show, from even frame by frame, and shots that last less than a second but yet are still so detailed. And that's not even to get into the character design of this show. Especially with the black characters Mel and Echo being some of the best black character designs we've seen in a long time. Mel having this regal and structured attire with lots of gold accents and white attire, referencing her wealth and power, but also her sense of innocence and willingness to be on the right side of history. While Echo's attire is more grungy and apocalyptic, with his attire providing White Knight energy, referencing his life in Zaun, while also being the main character with a positive hope for the future. Scenes like the fight between Echo and Jinx, the canon event that is Powder, the magic user saving Jace and his mother. This series is absolutely stunning, gorgeous, one of my favorite series of all time because of how detailed and how intricate this story is, the characters, everything. I can gush about this for so long, but we can just move on. Attack on Titan. Now, Attack on Titan is a dark fantasy anime by Hajime Isayama, premiering its first episodes in April of 2013 and premiering its final episodes this month actually. So the series follows Eren Yeager, an adolescent to teenage boy, and his friends living in a dystopian world where the small remains of humanity are forced to live behind walls to protect themselves from these giant, distorted humanoids called Titans. As the main Survey Corps, or the Scouts, fight these horrifying beings and try to learn of their origins. Now, this series has always had pretty good animation, with flashes of beautiful scenery, environments, backgrounds, characters, offering both a gritty post-apocalyptic tone to the story and setting, but also carrying a sense of horrific beauty that I actually really love. But once we get into seasons 3 and especially season 4, we see the animation just get significantly better. Now, some of the best animation scenes from the show involve the ODM gear, a technology developed specifically to deal with and kill Titans. Now, pretty much any scene where a character uses ODM gear is some of the best and most dynamic and interesting animation that I've seen in such a long time. But characters, especially like Mikasa and Levi, have some of the most dynamic, fluid, and gorgeous animations while using the gear. Now, this series manages to somehow carry out some of my favorite kind of horror, the subtle psychological horror of what these beings are and how this world was created, while also providing what I like to call beautiful horror, which is a contrast between this godly, stunning, beautiful aesthetic mixed with horrific ideas and imagery, creating this gorgeous contrast. Now, some of this is shown with beautiful slow-mos, sparkle effects, and blood that sprinkles like glitter across the landscape. Now, this series manages to capture all of these elements while also providing some of the most interesting and fascinating characters that I've seen in years, posing questions of morality and whether or not evil actions against evil people are justified. The storyline, the world building, the characters, and how intricate they are some of the most detailed that I've seen in shows recently. And this is not to mention how season 4, how it's some of the most god tier animation that I've seen, even in anime itself. I once again can gush about this for so long, but we can just go ahead and move on. And we can talk about AI. Now, with everything I mentioned so far, AI art has been a looming kind of threat, so to speak, within the art industry. Now, for those of you who may not understand, the issue in summary with AI art being the sourcing and how artists have not consented or agreed upon, or were even asked in most cases, to have their art used in these algorithms. Essentially stealing from artists, right? Along with AI, if being left unchecked, can be a detriment to the field that is already taken advantage of, with overworked, underpaid artists that are already devalued in society because we as a society, especially in America, have this sense of devaluing arts, not taking art jobs or education seriously. Now, while AI is still needing to use other artists' work for their algorithm, is there a way for it to then become ethical, you know? Now, AI art isn't going anywhere anytime soon. However, there does need to be regulations put in place to protect the actual artists themselves. Not the companies, not the business owners, and not their stockholders. Artists. There need to be regulations put in place to protect artists. Which is why, among so many other reasons, why there needs to be an animation strike. These production houses should not be overworking nor underpaying their artists. Nor should they be requiring artists to use other artists' stolen work. Now, part of the writer's strike included restrictions on the use of AI in the writing/production process. This needs to be a universal thing across the board for all art fields, and these techie douchey bros with not a millimeter of artistic talent or creativity in their body should not be telling artists anything, nor should they have a say in how AI art is used, nor how it affects artists. Now, I had this idea, I don't know how it will be implemented. It's more so kind of an idealistic kind of way, but I think it's somewhat feasible, right? Going forward, anytime an artist posts something, whether it's social media, whether it be to a project, just anything, even traditional works shown in gallery, there should be a regulation to have some sort of QR code of sorts that artists can add that is essentially like them saying, yes, you can use my art for AI purposes, or no, you cannot. They should also be able to opt out at any point. Now, in my opinion, AI art takes away so much of the fundamental aspects of what makes art art. Art, in my opinion, is the most pure and authentic version of human expression, imagination, creativity, and creation made tangible. And the whole thing about AI art is that it takes away those fundamental aspects and gives those to an algorithm, to a computer, taking away the most fundamental aspect of art, which is the human mind. Now, question is, are artists able to, through regulation, able to create ways of using AI to help them? Yes, this is true, with regulation, which is the whole point that I think really needs to be understood about AI art. And I know that a lot of people use AI art on social media and everything without the intention of essentially messing over artists. However, I do think we need, as a society, to understand that that is what is happening, and that's why artists have such a big problem with AI art in general. But like I said, there needs to be regulations put into place, and these regulations need to come from and cater to artists. Not tech bros, not these companies, not the people who just want money. Artists. Artists need to be able to set these things into place so that it benefits them. So yeah, that's pretty much the majority of what I had to say on this. I can gush about those other animated shows and movies at a later time, but I just wanted to come on here and basically talk about the chaotic difference between AI arts up and coming in the industry and these animation studios actually giving their artists more leeway and creative freedom when it comes to making some of these new shows and animations, right? But that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, if you indeed still are, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.